Welcome to Get Ripped Collectibles.
Gator Dave, we are back for another week of college football.
All right. Week 3. Gotta love it, gotta love it, gotta love it. So glad to be back from my hiatus across the pond in Europe. Nevada and I had a great time in the Greek Isles, Croatia, and northern Italy. So had a really good time. So glad you took care of things in my absence last week. So we're definitely ready to roll. So obviously we got a new show Greek time, right? Wednesdays, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. More time for wagers and getting ready for those Thursday games as well. So we would ask that you subscribe to the YouTube account. Hit that button, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're at 94 subscribers. We want to beat 100 tonight. Mike, we want 100. We need 6 more subscribers to hit our 100 tonight. So that's what we're looking for. So we're excited. Can't say enough about it. So definitely looking forward to week 3.
Yeah, can't say it any better than myself, Dave. Let's go ahead and throw up last week's recap. It was a little bit better, tied there from the week 1. A little good bounce back for us.
Slightly, right?
Yep. So I think we both went 9-2-1. I think
9-2-1. Yeah, that's pretty damn good for a week 2 for a week 2 run for sure. So that's good stuff. Good stuff. So
you're still ahead in the head-to-head though. I'm gonna catch you.
Yes,
I'm gonna catch you in the showdown.
I still have my badge up. Which side is it? One of these sides. So I've got my badge
up there
right now. My badge of courage at this point. So that's good stuff.
That's
Mike.
right. Yeah. So we got 12 games here to start. First one, we just see on the ticker on the bottom. It's actually perfect timing. We're going to start off here with James Madison, Troy. James Madison is at Troy. Troy is a 3-point favorite in this one. This is the first year, or last year, I'm sorry, was the first year for James Madison in the FBS. They went 8-3. They got 13 of the starters back. Handled Bucknell week 1. Went up early last week on Virginia 17-7. But the Cavaliers actually came back on them to make it a game in that one. I was actually pretty surprised. It looked like they were going to be dead in the water, especially after that Tennessee game in week 1. James Madison was able to hold on, got the win, 36-35, kind of went down to the end there. James Madison's offense has been clicking, but the defense has struggled a little bit, especially against Virginia. They gave up almost 400 yards in the air. Run defense was stout, though. They held them to only 18 rushing yards, and that's kind of what got them the victory there. On the flip side, we got Troy. They played Stephen F. Austin week 1. They went up early 21-3, but they had 4 turnovers, which kind of kept Stephen F. Austin a little closer than they should have been in that one. Troy ran for almost 350 yards in this game. And then they played Kansas State week 2 and ran into an absolute buzzsaw. They had fumbles, turnovers, played a role in this one. They weren't able to do much on offense. Kansas State really kind of dominated the line of scrimmage and held Troy to just 70 yards. And Troy ended up losing 13-42. James Madison and Troy. So this is my sort of key point on this one. James Madison and Troy are like kind of key take, right? They would have played last year in the Sun Belt Championship had James Madison been eligible, but because the NCAA is stupid and has dumb rules, and it's all about money, they were not able to play last year in the Sun Belt Championship. And I think ultimately James Madison is looking at this game as that championship game last year. I think James Madison has a chip on their shoulder in this one. And, oh, yeah, a little side tidbit. James Madison last year, first year in the FBS, first year in the Sun Belt, 3-1 against the spread on the road in these types of games. Give me the Dukes of James Madison to cover the 3 and to get actually the win outright in this one, Dave. Who do you like
All
here?
right. I like that, Mike. I like us starting off with a little contradiction, So we'll talk to that in a minute. So James Madison, 37 points a game, 214 yards on the ground. They've done pretty well on the defensive side. The Trojans, however, are my team, my Troy Trojans. They've sitting 65th in the nation and scoring at 30 points a game, averaging 413 yards per game. Troy did hang around a little while with Kansas State, but obviously it is Kansas State. Troy's had some success. They've covered 8 of their last 9 non-conference games. They've got a good running game. Basically, we're only talking about a field goal here. Given the home dominance of late, I'm going with those Troy Trojans for a big victory and taking Troy here, Mike. So that's our first head-to-head, and right from the start.
A little showdown early. All right, love it. So
the cover, baby.
So you want Troy to? You think Troy gets the cover in this one, or you like him just kind of money line straight up?
Well, if I can get the money line, I'll go money line here. Yep, let's go money line on Troy.
All right, I got you.
All right, so our next game, San Jose State versus Toledo. So San Jose State comes in at 1-2 with losses to USC, Oregon State. So they're quite battle tested, right? They had their big win over Cal Poly, which I didn't even know they had a team. But Toledo comes in 1-1, big win over Texas Southern. They did lose to Illinois. Really should have won that game. Only lost by 2 to Illinois. And we know Illinois, we were kind of big on them last year, Mike, if you remember right? We got the big boy
Brett Bielema, man. He's got, big boy football right there. Big 10.
Big boy football. Well, guess what? Toledo only lost by 2. So the Spartans have tallied 1,156 yards this season. They've compiled 6 passing touchdowns, 7 touchdowns on the ground. So a lot of points there. They have had a lot of penalties, though. 14 penalties for 116 yards. They're averaging 173 yards on the ground, which is sitting them about 56 in the country, averaging, again, 34.7 points per game. The Mighty Rockets come in ranked 8th in D1 in scoring, 49.5 points per game. They're at 482 yards per game at this point, which is good for 22nd in the nation. They've had a few penalties, only 83 penalty yards, isn't too bad, which ranks them about 67th. Both teams are coming off blowout wins. San Jose State was beaten pretty bad in the first 2 games. Toledo nearly beat Illinois. We talked about that. The Rockets are at home, which is obviously a big deal. They've won 5 of their last 6 games of the season last year. They've got a legit passing attack, so I am going Toledo Rockets to cover the points, sir. What say you?
I'm with you. I'm with you here, Dave. I think Toledo's offense is just going to be way too much for San Jose State. I think they are crawling into this one after playing those 2-3 big. Well, I won't say 3. Oh yeah, Cal Poly's pretty big, right? I think they're crawling into this one, and I think that defense is the difference for San Jose State. I think they're not there yet. And the offense for Toledo is going to be able to hang up probably 40 on them pretty easily. So give me Toledo in this one. I'm with you here. Scott, we see you in the chat. What up, baby? Happy birthday, buddy.
Yes, that's the birthday boy on for us today.
That's the birthday,
Happy birthday
man.
there, Scott.
Happy birthday to our guy. All right, cool. Well, yeah, I got Toledo. Next one we're going to talk here is Tulane, Southern Miss. Look, like we were talking before we got on the show, Tulane has sort of had bad luck after bad luck so far to start this year. I mean, Michael Pratt played his ass off week 1. Luckily, they were able to get that win against South Alabama. He hurt his knee last week. It did not go their way against Ole Miss. But here, we'll talk a little more about it. All right, so Southern Miss, we'll talk about the flip side here first. Southern Mississippi last week, they kind of really played their first legit opponent, if you want to call them that, in Florida State. Their quarterback struggled. He had 11 completions with 34 pass attempts for 154 yards and an interception. The team lost 13-66. Not the best. Frank Gore Jr., shout out Frank Gore. He was an absolute stud last year for Southern Miss, but he ran for over 1,400 yards last year for Southern Miss. But this year, after 2 games, he's only got 60 yards on 17 carries. So he's having a bit of a slow start. I get it. Florida State was last week, but week 1 they played Alcorn State. So you think that he would have been able to get something going in that one. On the flip side, we're looking at Tulane. They've had 2 tough tests right off the bat, like we were talking about South Alabama and Ole Miss. Tulane absolutely handled South Alabama in week 1. They held them to less than 300 total yards on the game. The turnovers were a little concerning, though. Tulane lost 3 fumbles in that game. But it helps, like we were just talking about, when Michael Pratt goes 14 for 15 for 294, 4 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Unfortunately, Tulane was without him, like we were just mentioning in week 2. He had that knee injury against Ole Miss. And their backup quarterback kind of did all he could. Defense did what they could. It just wasn't really enough. Ole Miss ended up having some crazy fluke stuff kind of happen at the end, and that score was a little more lopsided than it actually was. It was more like a 1-score game. It ended up being, I think, 37-20. Michael Pratt he's taken limited reps in practice this week, so he is practicing a little bit. So there's a sign that maybe he could play. I don't think that ultimately he's going to. Which is why I'm still kind of confident in this one on the side that I'm on. I like Tulane here, minus 12.5 to get the cover against Southern Miss. I think the defense is going to be able to make some plays, force some turnovers, probably get a defensive touchdown in this one. I would look for that. But I look for the defense to kind of put it on their back and bring home the cover with this one. Who do you got here, Dave?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of with you there, Mike. Obviously, if Pratt comes back, it's going to get a little. It's a for sure in my mind. Now the line has moved in the last couple of days, like 3 points. So I'm thinking the gamblers out there are thinking Pratt's going to be back, and if he's back, it's sewn up in my opinion. But there is something to point out. So last year, Southern Miss went into Tulane and beat them. They only had 2 losses last year. Tulane did, and one of them was to Southern Miss, 27-24. So they did have their number last year.
Yep.
But again,
little revenge factor.
Yeah, true that. I mean, Mike alluded to Tulane's a tough team right now. They're picked to win the AAC. AAC obviously has seen a lot of changes with a number of their teams going over to the Big 12. Some of the better teams went to the Big 12, but some changes in that AAC. They've still got the mighty Memphis Tigers, though, however, in that division. But they are picked to win that division. And I still think Southern Miss is a long way away from being where they need to be. Their coaches on the hot seat. I saw the list of hot seat coaches, and he's one of them. So I'm going to go with Tulane Green Wave to cover in this particular contest, Mike.
Yeah, so I do want to make one more note, one more quick thing about that game. Just an interesting tidbit from that Ole Miss Tulane. Talk about a bad beat, right? So Tulane, we talked about them last week. They were on the show, Ole Miss Tulane. We had them at -7 on that show.
Yeah, and
After
and
that,
how,
after
Mike,
that,
how did that? Who picked those games? How did that go? I believe somebody picked South Alabama and somebody picked Tulane, didn't they? No.
yeah. No, that was week
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
That was week one. We're
Week
we're
one.
talking
Yeah.
we're talking last week here, Dave. We're talking
Oh,
last week
okay,
here.
okay. All right, all right.
Yeah. But
All right.
anyway, you're getting old. Well, I don't wanna confuse you. All right. But week 2, all right. So the line was 7, right? Michael Pratt got ruled out, starting quarterback for Tulane. That line jumped up to 13.5 by game time. That game finished at 37-20 on flukeness. It was a defensive return for a touchdown there at the end.
Yes.
Got the cover. I mean, talk about a bad beat for Tulane.
Tulane
players
was
in that one.
was in the game most of the game. I mean, with their backup. That's what I'm saying. So I
Brutal.
think this is one of those locks. I mean, Southern Miss is not going to happen. So all right,
Brutal.
let's move on. We're gonna stay out in my favorite place, the West. The next game is Fresno State versus Arizona State. So everyone knows that Arizona State picked up our young freshman that, with the Gator debacle and the NIL, Mr. Rashada is now starting quarterback for Arizona State. Just thought I'd throw that out there. So Fresno comes in at 2-0, beat Purdue by 4 points. But Eastern Washington, they only won by 3 at home, so that was kind of an oddball. But it's the first couple of games, right? Arizona State 1-1. They beat the mighty Southern Utah by 3 points. However, they did lose to Oklahoma State by 12. So Fresno State's averaging 36 points a game as a team, 123 yards on the ground, which has them 97th in D1. They also racked up 851 total yards this season. From a touchdown standpoint, 6 touchdowns via the pass, 3 rushing. Fresno's accrued 48 first downs as a unit, flagged for 14 penalties for 118 yards. They have turned the ball over only 2 times in 2 games. Arizona State comes in averaging 324 yards a game, which has them ranked 113th. Arizona State's offense has racked up 132 yards of penalties on 13 infractions, which has them sitting at 55th. They are at 122 yards per game on the ground, and they've rushed for 245 for the season. With all that is said, and they're already calling for the coach to change quarterbacks because they're not liking Mr. Rashada being the young buck and not really getting things going. Give me Fresno State to cover those points. What say you, Mike?
Yeah, I'm with you, Dave. Again, I like Fresno in this one too. The real reason I'm even backing the Fresno is I got to go with Tedford, the head coach. I'm going with him. Experience in these types of games. This is a game that Fresno players are going to get up for too. They don't typically play, a Pac-12 team. They maybe will play them twice a year with their non-conference schedule, but this is one of those games where you're going to get Fresno's best. Just like they played in week 1 against Purdue, where they were able to upset them, at Purdue. I think this is going to be that same sort of trend. I'm looking for Rashada to make some mistakes, to force some balls. Maybe he does get subbed out, unfortunately for Arizona State. I don't think the guy behind him is any better. Give me Fresno State to cover here. I'm with you here, Dave. I like that pick. I like the Dogs.
Awesome. And, hey, we have to say hello to our friend, Mr. Charles Henderson. Charles Henderson, welcome aboard, sir.
That's a hell of a shout-out, Dave.
We
need to get you in like a boxing ring.
That's my guy. He likes my favorite restaurant. He likes my favorite restaurant. I see him there all the time. So, so it's all good. What's next, Mikey?
I love it.
What
All
do we
right,
got?
next game we're talking is it's a little ugly. We got New Mexico State.
Hey, Mike, before you say it's ugly, I am going to tell you this is going to be a Gator Day block, but you go ahead with your info there, buddy. This is going to be a Gator Day block.
Dave lock. See,
It will be.
I would, all right, we'll see. All right, here's what I got for you here on your Gator Dave lock. All right. New Mexico State, week 0, outgained Massachusetts by almost 100 yards. They had 3 turnovers to UMass's 0, and that was the difference. They ended up losing that game to UMass. I believe it was 41-30. Week 1, New Mexico State played Western Illinois, the powerhouse. The Aggies offense was able to put up 58 points, over 650 total yards with 0 turnovers. Got the dub, all right? You'd hope so with 58 points. Week 2. So this is one of those teams, there's not a lot of them. They've already played 3 games this year. This is their 4th game in week 3, right? So week 2, last week, they played Liberty at home. The offense was putting up numbers. Defense, not so much. They were putting up numbers in the wrong direction. They gave up over 500 total yards to Liberty. Remember, Liberty is no longer with Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze is at Auburn. Liberty's head coach now is the guy that was at Coastal Carolina with Grayson McCall. He moved to Liberty. Little backstory there. Aggies' turnover bug from the first 2 games was alive and well. They had 3 to Liberty's 1. And they were actually in this game at halftime. It was only 17-23. New Mexico State was right there. They had a shot at it, but they were unable to score in the second half. They lost 17-33 against Liberty. New Mexico, on the flip side, they lost week 1 in an overpowered matchup against Texas A&M. Connor Weigman looked like the next fucking Heisman potential guy. He, I think, only missed 1 pass in that game. He had like 5 touchdowns. Went crazy. Everybody was all over the Texas A&M hype train. Week 2, New Mexico was able to build a little more confidence. They played a Tennessee Tech team where the quarterback was able to cook. I think he had 4 touchdowns and only 1 pick. They were able to get it done in kind of a blowout. All in all, I was on New Mexico to start this. I did a little more research, and I remembered that the old Minnesota coach, Mr. Jerry Kill, the Mr. Ice Cream in the Snow, head coach out there at Minnesota, is now the head coach at New Mexico State, which gives me pause, Gator Dave. But one thing it doesn't do is scare me against the points. I'm going over in this one. I think it's going to be a shootout. I'm looking for like a 42-38 type of game. I think it's a Miami Mike lock it in, over. Let me get I forget what it was because it was kind of a... Over 53.
Oh, 53
over
now.
53.
All right. Good. All right.
Give me the points.
So you took a little bit of wind out of my sails. I thought you were going to pick New Mexico State here. So your boy Jerry Kill, just so you know, has not been around the entire week. He has been ill. He will not be at the game to coach the game. This is a team that is, it's not an SEC. It's not a Big 10, a Big 12. This is New Mexico State. So they are not going to have their coach. They are not going to play well. So, because Mr. Kill has been out all week, won't be there on Saturday. So, here's the deal. I am thinking New Mexico's at home. Okay? It's a rivalry game where the home team has won 5 of the last 7 meetings. Okay? New Mexico's also shown consistency in their offense. New Mexico State's defense, 100th defense in the nation. Not good. With that said, Mr. Kill out. New Mexico getting the home field advantage. I am going to take New Mexico in a Gator Day block. So, you could bet both both locks, right? You could bet New Mexico with Gator Dave. You could bet the over with Miami Mike, whatever you see fit. But looks like we got a double lock here, Mike. We don't have too many of those, sir.
Yeah, see, again, I'm going to give you a little stat against your lock here. I hate to say it. I got to do it to you, though. So the home team in this one, which is New Mexico in this slot, unfortunately, 6-8 straight up in their last 14 is the home team. All right. 2-11.
5 of the last 7, friend. 5 of the last 7, though.
2-11 against the spread is the home team.
5 of the last 7 meetings. I'm getting New Mexico on the money line, my friend. 5 of the last 7 meetings. Gator Dave Live.
All right.
Book it. Book it, Dano. All right. Let's see. All right. Hey, just to remind everyone, we got 5 people watching right now, Mike. Just to remind everyone, we are at 90. What are we at? 94 subscribers. We're trying to get to 100 tonight. So hopefully all 5 of you that are on the line right now have subscribed so we can get to our 100. All right, let's go to the next game. They're getting a little more interesting, Mike. We're kind of going out of those wankety schmankety games and getting to the real meat of our schedule now. So our next game is Washington at Michigan State. I did say Michigan State. So we'll leave it at that. No sidebar there needed. But here's the scoop. Huskies 2-0 wins over Boise State and Tulsa Hurricane. Michigan State comes in with 2 wins as well over Central Michigan Chippewas. My old boy, the Shark Humper, is still the coach up there, and Richmond. And I've got some notes here that they don't have a coach now, so we'll talk about that later. Oh, I'm talking about the coach at Michigan State, so they still have him. He's just suspended.
I thought he was fired.
No, officially not quite yet. So the big question is obviously how the kids respond. The line has moved in Washington's favor a little bit in this particular situation, obviously, with all that's going on. So here's the scoop.
Yep.
Huskies currently have, after 2 games, 1,131 total yards this season. Washington's got 9 passing touchdowns, 5 touchdowns on the ground. They've only turned the ball over 2 times. 53 first downs. They've got 12 penalties at 153 yards. They're maintaining an average of 93 yards on the ground, which isn't much. That's 114. But they got Michael Penix, Heisman Trophy hopeful out there throwing the ball around, right? So we know he's the real deal. 49.5 points per game they're averaging. Now let's go to the Spartans. 35th in the country in holding an average of 38 points per game. They're averaging 435 yards a game, which ranks them 49th in the country. The Michigan State offense racked up 111 penalty yards, 49th in the nation there. Coach DeBoard doing quite well with his boy, Mr. Penix, right, that he brought over. He's the bomb. Washington to cover. Easy money. Lock it in. Mike.
Yeah, I'm with you. Historically, this is one of those things that you kind of look at from a handicapper side is the first game without the head coach. Usually in football, in basketball too, baseball, for whatever reason, that's kind of that next game is usually a game where the guys kind of rally together. Everybody's a little bit more on point that week in practice. They kind of hold themselves more accountable. It kind of falls back into normal after that first week, but that first week, missing their top guy, usually they kind of band together. I don't know about this situation. I don't know if that's really the same case in this one, just of how it's kind of going down. It's a really tough spot. They were already kind of struggling. They had a really rough last year, and Washington we're both super high on this year. And they're on a trajectory right now that is in a complete different path than what Michigan State is on. I'm with you. Huskies to cover the 16. Book it. I'm with you.
Book it. Book it. All right.
All right. Next one, we got a Big Ten versus ACC matchup here. We got Minnesota going down to North Carolina. North Carolina is the 7-point favorite right now. It's kind of teetered between 7 and 7.5. I think it's back down to 7 now. I'm not impressed with this one. Minnesota's offense has super struggled through the first 2 weeks. They played Nebraska week 1, only had 13 points. They played Eastern Michigan week 2. They had 25 points. Their defense has been extremely strong, and that's really kind of the only reason that they are 2-0 right now. Week 1, they only gave up 10 points and were able to force 4 turnovers against that Nebraska offense. Last week, they gave up only 6 points to Eastern Michigan and was able to get another turnover. But that defense is now facing its real first true test. That Tar Heel offense is no joke. And putting up over 950 total yards through the first 2 games, and that's on a South Carolina defense, an SEC defense, and, well, an App State defense last week. But those guys in the hills, man, they don't play. They don't play. They fight to the end. And Mac Brown, I don't know if you saw, Dave, he came out and said he's thankful that they never have to play them again.
Yeah, he's done. He's done. Yeah, it was in my notes. It's like,
he's got no interest in playing the mountain people no more.
Yeah.
So the only other thing that I'm going to say about this, obviously Drake May, potential Heisman guy. North Carolina's had a carousel of running backs there for a while now, going back to when Fedora was there. The thing that sketches me out a little bit about this game is I personally had this closer to 12.5, 13 points. I think North Carolina is the much better team in this situation. Their offense is much better. The only thing that sort of gives me pause is Minnesota in that defense. If they're able to stifle, Drake May passing the ball at all, I'm really not worried about their offense doing too much against North Carolina's defense, believe it or not. So give me North Carolina to cover. But the line's a little sketchy. What do you like here, Dave? Judging by your reaction, I think I got an idea.
Yeah, I'm going the other way, Mike. So,
all right.
You kind of gave us an overview on who they play. They're both 2-0. Minnesota's defense is held the other only 19 points a game, held the other team. So that's pretty good. And I think, and out of all the games, I almost think a bet here, because I'm going Minnesota, I'll tell you in a minute, is that even though it's 50, I really think that under could happen in this game. Because most times you bet North Carolina the over every single time. But I think a good side bet on this one, if I were doing pizza money, so to speak, I would bet the under in this one. But so UNC obviously had trouble last week with App State. And again, Mac Brown said he's done with this series and glad to be out of it and doesn't want to see it again. I still doubt this UNC defense. They're not there yet. We saw that with App State, and I'm not real comfortable with it.
Right.
I think this is a slam jam back and forth, boring ass game, which usually doesn't happen with UNC. But I think I'm gonna go here with Minnesota and the points in this particular situation, and I would bet some pizza money on the under, which is probably one of the few times UNC would be under in this particular situation. So that's where I am, Mike.
Okay. And the under, I think it's over-under I got is at 50 right now. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's what I had, 50. Yeah, I got 50 under. So just a little sidebar there. So, all right, let's move on to the SEC. So our first game that Mike picked,
You
which,
pledged, didn't
you know, Mike, it's like he picked these things a little early and he picked this big one. I'm like, Mike picking this early with this gigantic point spread. It's not like Mike. It's not like Miami Mike. So it got me a little worried, and I've been flim-flamming the whole damn week on this particular game. But we got South Carolina and the Georgia Bulldogs. So 27.5, over under 54.5. So Gamecocks come in 1-1 with a big win over Furman. They lost to Carolina by 14, which I knew they would. Georgia 2-0 against the powerhouses of UT Martin. By the way, I almost went to that school, by the way, just so you know. Tiny little school in between Memphis and Nashville. They didn't have football back then. All right. Ball State, Georgia beat Ball State. That was a big win for them. So, last year in this particular game, the Dogs won 48-7. Okay, so that's 41-point margin, right? 48-7 gives us 55 points. So, Georgia's, they're outscoring 93-10. They return the court. They got Carson Beck at quarterback, right? Who's 577 yards passing so far, hitting 72%. Isn't too shabby. The thing that worries me the most about this game is that, and it was very apparent at the beginning of the year because they lost their running back. They don't have a running game. No, they don't have a running game. They haven't figured it out in 2 games. That's a big problem. Even Florida's figured out their running game. So that's going to be a big problem for them. So what's really different? We don't have Stetson Bennett, right? But the game's at Georgia as well, so that's obviously going to be a feather in the cap there. South Carolina quarterback sacked 9 times in the loss against North Carolina. You think he might get sacked a few times, Mike, in this game against the Georgia Bulldogs? Maybe. So Georgia's passing games look pretty decent. Running game, I think Georgia's going to open up the offense because next week they have UAB, so they're gonna coast again next week. I think they're gonna put a bit of a showcase on this week, in this particular situation. So I think they're gonna score a few points and try to, blow them out. I think this game's gonna be like 45-7. It's gonna be extremely lopsided. I don't think South Carolina, because remember, we go back, Mike. Remember we said last year, what was the score of the game? I need to refer back to my notes. What was that? 48-7, Mike. 48-7. It's going to be somewhere in that neighborhood this year because, it just, South Carolina's got no running game. At least last year they had a bit of a running game, and they don't have one this year. So I'm going to really freak you out after all is said there. I'm going under 54.5 points. What do you think about that, Mike?
So hold on. You think it's going to be a 48-7 and you want the under 54? That math doesn't add up. That math doesn't add up, Dave. See, it's one of those things, all right?
40-7. They'll give up. They'll put the rejects in. It's going to be 40-7. I'm going under.
All right.
This game.
All right. So
no points.
This is going to be extremely ugly, and I may vomit when it comes out of my mouth. So I apologize now to everybody watching. I'm on South Carolina in the first quarter.
Oh, you're going to do one of those?
In the first quarter. So if you look, I'm not impressed at all with this Georgia team so far. They've played, like you said, Ball State, Tennessee, Martin. In both of those games, they struggled till about the 10-minute mark in the second quarter, and then all of a sudden we saw Georgia again, right? South Carolina, Furman last week, they struggled a little bit. They were tied at the end of the first quarter. They were tied at the end of the first quarter with UNC, USC.
You got South Carolina winning the first quarter?
No, absolutely not. Let's not get wild and crazy, Dave. Let's not get senile, all right? We're going South Carolina +7 in the first quarter. I think they're able to do it. You could do it. I'm thinking it's going to be like 7-3 Georgia, but it could be 10-7 South Carolina, and then they don't score the rest of the game. You know what I mean? But I like South Carolina first quarter.
Okay, Mike. All right.
It's good. It's gross, dude. I told you. It's gross.
I'll give you that one, buddy. Whatever wins the folks out there money when they drive up to North Carolina to place their bets, I'm good.
It's gross, man.
It is gross. It is gross. All right. You got the next one, friend.
Yeah, so next one we got here is Kansas State, Missouri. We got a little Big 12 SEC action here. SEC not doing the best in non-conference matchups so far here, Gator Dave.
No, they're not.
Not really on their side with this one. So I have not been impressed with Missouri at all thus far in this season. I was not very high on them at all to begin this year. I'm still not. To say the least. I'm not even going to go in too much on this one. The biggest thing for me is Kansas State's pass defense has been a little shaky. They've been okay. Other teams have sort of had success with them if you look at the numbers, but a lot of that has come in garbage time because they absolutely killed the first two teams that they played this year. I think they're able to go into Missouri. I think they handle business. And that trend for the SEC at the beginning of the year kind of continues. Give me Kansas State to cover. I think it's at 4.5 now. Give me Kansas State to cover.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm kind of with you there, Mike. Kansas State is supposed to be 1 or 2 in the Big 12, and Missouri is supposed to be, third from the bottom. I think the way that soothsayers called the SEC East, they said Vanderbilt worse, then Florida, then Missouri. So Missouri is better than Florida. So in this
I would agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that bullshit. But we'll see how it goes. So my take's pretty much the same thing, Mike. I mean, Kansas State won 40-12 last year. Okay. Granted, the game was at Kansas State. So let's give Missouri 3 more. What do we have? 40-15. Missouri's 0-2 against the spread. Kansas State's defense looking decent so far. The one thing is Will Howard doesn't have the talent around him. He's lost some receivers. Obviously, he lost that running back that now plays for the Dallas Cowboys, by the way. So he doesn't have quite the talent around him, but they'll get there. But I think this is easy KSU cover. So boom, that's what I got. Give me the Wildcats to cover this one.
I'm with you here, sir.
All right, next up, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets versus Ole Miss Rebels. So Ole Miss getting quite a number of points. Yeah, that's
ready to go.
We're going there. Last I heard, 18.5. Mike, what do you got for Ole Miss here?
It's 18.5. It had gotten up to I think it was up to 19.5 at one point, but it came back down a little bit.
It's dropped a little bit. You can understand Georgia Tech. They got a good team. So Tech's 1-1. They lost to Louisville by only 4. They beat South Carolina State. The Rebs come in 2-0, wins over Mercer and Tulane. And again, as we both talked, neither one of us were that impressed with the win over Tulane. But we know Lane Kiffin likes to rub your freaking face in the dirt. Last year, by the way, the game wasn't even close. 42-0 at Georgia Tech. One of the big reasons they fired Collins in the middle of the year. I'm not sure enough has really changed at this point. Dart's the quarterback for the Rebs. He was the quarterback last year. Ole Miss outgained Georgia Tech 547 to 214 in last year's matchup. The Rebs have one of the best running backs in the country, Quayshawn Judkins. He is for real. He'll be one of the top running backs selected. Trust me. They're tough. They're tough. Brent Key, the new coach at Georgia Tech, obviously he was interim for half of last year, and he made some headway. They won some big games, rah-rah games and things like that. But, I just don't see this one happening. So it's a big home game for Ole Miss. Lane Train is not going to hold back. Like I said, Lane likes to just take your freaking back of your head and rub it in the dang dirt. And I think Ole Miss is going to cover this one, Mike. What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of think they do. But I think Georgia Tech's able to keep it close, at least in the first half.
So you got a first half pick for us.
I got another little pizzazz pick for you here, Gator Dave. Yeah. So I like Georgia Tech in the first half to cover the 10.5. I think the fourth quarter is probably when Lane Kiffin's able to kind of put them away. But I think Georgia Tech's able to make a play, maybe get a turnover on Dart, put their team in some good field position, and I think they're able to kind of keep it close early there.
Okay. All right.
I'll
give you that one. I like the half thing. I got to think a little bit better chance, a little bit longer than just a quarter, sir. So
yeah.
I'm good with that.
All right. Next game we're going to talk is another big old spread here. We got Alabama.
Yeah, this is another one. This is just not a Miami Mike. Dude, we can't do these anymore, man.
I'm sorry, dude. Spreads. I'm sorry, dude. It's the situation. It's not you, though.
It's not you.
It's solely the situation, and I'm not going to speak too much on this other than it's Alabama off a loss at home.
Yeah.
Good luck, South Florida. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
They're playing in South Florida, man. They're playing they got the pirate ship and everything, dude.
Stop it.
Aren't they playing in Tampa Bay Stadium with the pirate ship? I mean, it's the bomb.
They are.
I mean,
what it's going to be is all those Alabama alum and fans are going to be down in Tampa and Naples for a nice weekend, and they are going to make Tampa the new Tuscaloosa. So give me Alabama minus 32. There's talk of Jalen Milroe getting pulled to try like Taylor Buckner. For what? He's not better. Keep Milroe in. Milroe's going to have a 5-touchdown game against South Florida. Everybody will hop back off the fire Nick Saban. These fans are nuts at Alabama. They forget that before Nick Saban got there, they had like 3 10-win seasons in 20 years. It was something ridiculous. And now, I don't know. It's wild. I remember when Miami was like that, and I hope to be back to there, but man, that's insane.
That was like
that's
the
insane.
last 10, 12 years for Miami, though. It's not. It's
that's
only
insane.
a part of the season for Alabama. So,
yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. What do you like here, Dave?
You're going Bama to cover. So here's my thought. Bama's only 1-1 now. They won over MTSU. They got whooped by Texas at home by 10. South Florida, same record, Mike. They are 1-1, just like Alabama. They beat the infamous FAMU. but they did lose to Western Kentucky. Okay. So Tide lost to Texas. Milroe was 14 of 27. Oof, that's barely over 50%. So quarterback rating of 140. Finished the game 2 interceptions. Jace McClellan's a rushing leader. Had 12 carries for 45 yards against Texas. The Bulls, however, the USF Bulls, okay? Byron Brown, 3 touchdowns, walked away from the game with 197 yards on 20 of 34 passing. QB rating of 136. 136, dude. Okay? USF offense compiled. They've had some penalties, 214 penalty yards in 2 games. That kind of blows. It makes them the second worst in the nation. So obviously helping out the opposition just a bit. Bottom line, Miguel, Saban and the Tide are pissed. They got embarrassed. They are going to smoke the Bulls. Tide covers.
That's what we want. All right. Beautiful.
Had to build it up. All right. Our last game.
I love it.
Just reminding the 3 people that are watching, we need subscriptions. The goal after this broadcast is 100 subscribers. We got 94. Need to work on that, folks. All right, here we go. The game that I will be attending, Tennessee, Florida Gators. All right. Vols come in 2-0 with wins over the mighty Virginia Cavaliers, who are just the bomb this year. They are awesome. They also beat Austin P. Governors, who are just studs of the FCS, by only 17.
That's right.
The Gators come in at 1-1. Look like dipsy-do dumbasses against Utah. Had they had their shit together, would have been a game, but they didn't, and they look like shit, and they lost.
You're not salty, though, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. I was out of the country having a good time. Too bad. So sad.
Maybe that's why. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought about maybe that's why they lost, because you chose to leave?
I just left and didn't support my team. It could have been. You never know,
man. I don't know.
Never know.
Maybe it's not Billy Napier's fault. Maybe it's your fault.
It's my fault. I'll take it. I'll take one for the team. It was my fault. I was out of town. That's why we lost.
All right.
They did, however,
when I came
back to town. I came back to town, Mike. I was there in time to watch them beat the mighty.
Hey, I'm not a scientist, but I'm just saying there's trends here. You know what I'm saying?
There are, Mike. There are. So, beat McNeese State by 42 points. All right. Florida's won 5 straight meetings before Tennessee secured a victory of 38-33 last season. Mike, do you know how many years it's been since Tennessee won in the Swamp? You want to take a guess?
It's been a while. I know Peyton Manning wasn't very successful there.
How about 20 years? So, it's going to be slap in the face we lose that game. So the programs are obviously in a different spot. You know, Heupel's a little bit ahead of my boy in Gatorland just a bit. The Gators are 16-2 against Volunteers since 2005. Let's talk about Joe Milton, the third from the state of Florida. He's completing 66.7% of his passes, 429 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Ramel Keaton and Squirrel White have combined for 193 yards and 1 touchdown. Brew McCoy, 7 receptions for Tennessee. Ground games averaging 257 a contest. And Jalen Wright leads the way at 233 yards. on 25 carries. My boy Graham Mertz, who we hated at Wisconsin, and now I'm stuck with him, Mike. I'm stuck with Graham Mertz.
I was going to say, your boy, that's some strong words.
I don't have Michael Pratt like I was supposed to have. So, but Graham Mertz.
Or Sam Hartman, or Devin Leary. The list goes on.
I'm going to have to pick the gun up and put it in my mouth. Stop. So,
all right, relax, relax.
Completing 73.8% of his passes, Mike. 73.8. All right, 526 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. So we've got a guy that I want you to make a little note about. His name is Eugene Wilson. Trey Wilson is what he's called. I want you to write that name down as a receiver for the Florida Gators, okay? And know that by next year, he's going to be
on another team.
He's going to be all world, okay? Our ground game looking pretty good. 170 yards per contest. Montreal Johnson, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. First game, obviously, was the 2 words that come to mind was lack of discipline and organization, which is a little scary when you're supposed to have a very organized coach. No discipline, organization. So we shall see what happens here. The Gators went over at McNeese State. Looked pretty good. Got a chance to see a lot of young players. And getting honest here, the one thing that I'm really happy about in terms of our defense is that, and I haven't seen it, I swear to God, since Muschamp, is our ability to rotate the front 7. I haven't seen us rotate front 7 since Muschamp. And how many? That's like 3 fucking coaches ago.
It's a while back, yeah.
That's like 10 years ago. So being able to rotate that front 7 is huge. Granted, they're all freshmen and sophomores, but they're for real, right? They're all blue chippers, which is a real deal. So that to me is huge in terms of where we're going. I think I'll be honest with you. I think our defense is going to somewhat carry us this year, and I see Napier's vision and why he got Mertz. He's one of those game managers like the guys that were at Alabama. It's that same thought and theory. But it's the only problem is we're not in the Alabama 10 years ago. We're more spread. There's more down the field. But I think at this point in the rebuild, we're making the right steps in the proper direction for the Gators. So, I'm feeling decent about it. Mullen's smoke and mirror roster, he'd have a freaking 10th ranked roster, but 2 years later, half those guys will have been left the team or some kind of bullshit. I mean, Mullen was not a good recruiter. Napier's doing a good job recruiting. He's trying to focus on blue chip players and good guys. And I think if we give him time, we'll be okay. But this game is, a lot of people are looking at this game as a make or break, and it's a little bit scary in that regard. I'm looking forward to being there and hoping that my team wins. But to me, in the long run, it's not a make or break if we stay the course and where we're going at this point. I know you're kind of in that same boat with Miami and where you guys are going and the recruiting that your team has done as well. The only good thing about it is that, you guys are in the ACC and you got a little bit easier schedule than we have to deal with. And I can document that and will before we're over if you want to really look at the schedule.
This year we can look at that ACC SEC head to head. I think you'll find.
Let's just look at the schedule balance.
I'm just saying. No. We don't have to pull hairs and
No, we don't
I'm just saying there's a straight up head to head schedule record
strength of schedule. Strength
that we can
of schedule. Like number 5th toughest schedule for the Gators and number 65th for Hurricanes. But we'll leave that alone.
Yep.
We were talking about both our teams building.
And when I'm in a bowl game, it's going to feel a lot better. I love that. I love that schedule.
We'll see that. Well, yeah, we were in a bowl game last year, but that's okay. So, but bottom line
how did that bowl game go?
Mike, as much as I hate to say it, and I'm doing this for a reason, give me the balls to cover here, Mike. You're up, buddy.
Yeah. Okay. I thought we were going to have a show. All right. Vols to cover. Okay, yeah. I got to change I had my whole thing, in my head ready to tell you why your team's not going to cover, and now it's kind of out the window. So I'm with you. I do not think your Gators are going to cover. I think the Vols are going to cover in this one. I think this one is like what you were saying. I mean, you hit it nail on the head. This one's just too much. It's too much of a task to ask for. I think it's, you look at this one as a Gator fan the same way that I just looked at the Texas A&M game. As long as we compete and we go out there and we fight, whatever's going to happen happens. At this point, over the last however many years that both of our teams have been through this, there's nothing more you can do than fucking just watch the game and hold on for dear life. You know what I mean? So, I think the biggest thing that I've seen watching Florida play football this year so far is the offensive play calling. It doesn't look like it looks like Graham Mertz was their 5th choice. You know what I'm saying? Like, they do not trust him. They are throwing screens. They are keeping the ball short. They're keeping it. They're trying to get the ball out of his hand fast to make it quick decisions so he doesn't, get under pressure, force balls, keep that game management mentality. It reminds me a lot of how he was treating Anthony Richardson last year. I mean, the whole thing with Anthony Richardson was he was, we're going to treat it vanilla because we don't want him to get hurt. Well, then he ended up leaving, and you're not even getting that benefit. So, by the time they took the leash off of Richardson and let him play like a dog, it was a little too late. So, I'm not saying Graham Mertz is a dog, and he, should be let off the leash by any means. I'm just saying that the coaching style for that offense, they don't play with confidence, and it shows.
Yeah.
The defense even at times.
I think we're going to see a different game on Saturday. I
don't know.
I think he's going to let, if you go back, Mike, if you go back to the Tennessee game.
That's y'all's, but that's y'all's shot, right? Like, you have to do that. You have to open it up. Otherwise, it's not happening.
We cut it loose in Tennessee and LSU. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think he's got to do that. He's got to cut it loose, or it's not going to be. It's not going to be vanilla. It's not going to be vanilla.
Yeah, he has to. He has to trust his guys, and that's why he's got him there. That's why he brought in the transfers. That's why he's recruiting the way that he is. Like you're saying, he's got to trust his guys. But it just feels very. I don't know. So I'm with you. I think Florida is on the right path with recruiting, with coaching. I think if y'all give them time, they can get to where Florida fans would like y'all to be again. I don't know if it's going to happen by Saturday. I just, maybe next year. Maybe next year y'all will be able to go into Knoxville and kind of upset them. But
the problem is next year, Mike, we got the toughest schedule in all of NCAA.
Well, I know. Week 1, you're going to start off with a loss when Miami comes to Gainesville. It's going to be rough to start to continue, momentum after that one. It's going to be. I don't know.
After that, it's in doubt. But if you do look at toughest schedules for 2024, we're number 1 by far, the toughest. We play no team that's outside of the Power 5 except for one game. one game. We play all the teams in Florida. We play Florida State. We play Miami. We play UCF. And our easiest game is going to be USF.
Yeah.
So, and then we got to go to Texas.
Well,
it's the hardest schedule. But again, we got to give this guy time. And I think, like I said, if he can open it up a little bit, and like he did against, LSU and against Tennessee. Last year, Mike, the game was only like 4 points, 5 points. We lost Tennessee at Tennessee.
Yeah,
and
I think the under honestly is something to consider in Tennessee, Florida in this one. I think it's going to be that kind of game where it's going to be a lot of turnover, a lot of sloppy ball, just not.
I'm telling you, our defense is coming back like gang freaking busters. You watch what happens on Saturday. Our defense is for real. This kid, this 30-year-old dude, little chubby guy, he's for real on the defense. Saban got him and wanted him to be the defensive coordinator in waiting, but Billy went in there and said, "Screw it, I'm going to make you my defensive coordinator." And they're Scott Strickland, the athletic director at Florida he's giving Billy time. He's going to give him a couple more years, and we just got to be patient.
But that's the thing, right? So you got that class coming in next year that's top 5, maybe even top 3 when it's all said and done. How much time is he going to get to develop that class? Is he going to get 2-3 years past next year to?
But if you look at where we are right now, all you need is 1 year from that. All you need is to get through. You got to get through next year, which is hell on wheels, the toughest schedule. Next year, if we can win 8-9 games next year, the year after that, we've got. I'm telling you, this quarterback we've got, DJ Langway. Mark my words.
Oh yeah, he's a beast. That dude's a beast. That dude's a beast. Yeah. No doubt about it.
He's going to be a Tim Tebow. I promise you that. He's got character. He
reminds me a lot of Jalen Hurts. His play style.
Very humble guy. Great family. His dad, his mom are awesome. I look so forward to it. So, dude, we've got 7 people watching right now. My boy Monty Welshons is in the house, and I'm getting blown up with text messages too. But we got 7 people watching. I do want to remind everyone, please subscribe. We're trying to get to 100, guys. So right now we're at 94. Need 6 more subscriptions on here. So, but we're having a good time. And, I hate that I can't pick my Gators, but I've been back and forth all day long. And I thought, well, if I pick Tennessee and then I go down to the game and we win, I don't care about what happened on my pick. So, we'll see how it goes.
I feel that. Real quick, we didn't really talk too much about Tennessee on that flip side. This is a massive game for them. They have potential playoff aspirations this season. Joe Milton is up on Heisman boards for a lot of people. So this is one of those games that's kind of like a make or break. They lose this game to Florida, they can't lose for the rest of the year. They still got Georgia. They still got, I believe, Bama that they play this year. That's a tough task. This is kind of like a must-win for them. And Joe Milton has Heupel for what he's been, worth, or what he had last year with Hendon Hooker.
Hendon Hooker, yeah.
It's the same thing that we were just saying about Napier, right? It is obvious that when the difference between the offense so far. Now, granted, Tennessee really hasn't had to, do too much on offense. They haven't had to show a whole lot, so we don't really know, what that's about yet, but we know Joe Milton can throw the ball 80 yards in the air. I mean, he's got an absolute cannon. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see if this Tennessee offense is going to try to open it up just like y'all are against them on the flip side. Because if not, I mean, at what point is it going to come? So to me, this is a game for Tennessee. It's really kind of do or die.
It is, and if they don't win this game, then they're just wide open for cuts and bruises and bullshit, and it goes back to the way it used to be, right? Georgia, Florida. I mean, if we can beat Tennessee, I'm telling you, we'll be right there underneath Georgia, and we'll be going to the.
If you beat Tennessee, absolutely.
Having our good time there in our condo that we've already got set up. But who knows?
All right, so before we throw up the pick recap for this week, because that was our 12 games, I'm gonna throw a surprise game at you here, sir.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep you on your toes.
You are. I'm just
also because for the people that watch the whole show, if you watched, earlier, Gator Dave had a couple moments. He had a couple moments. He's getting up there, and we got to keep him sharp. We got to keep him on. So,
I'm not a millennial. I'm a boomer, and Mikey's a millennial. It's millennial boomer, Bill. But
hey,
we it's all about the love, though. But go ahead.
Got to keep it strong. Got to keep it strong. So. We're going to hit you with BYU, Brigham Young University, is at Arkansas. Arkansas is favored by 8. What do you think on this one here, Gator Dave?
That is one that I did not. Hold on, let me look. BYU.
That's what I love to hear.
What's the number again, Mike?
Arkansas is favored by 8.
By 8. At Arkansas. Mike, I think this one, for some odd reason, the line moved from 10.5 to 8.5. But
I don't know. It's almost like when we were talking the preview and we talked about this game, it's like somebody called it, a long time ago, but, I wonder who that was.
Called it a long time ago. So I'm quite easily, because I'm an SEC homer there, Mike. I'm definitely an SEC homer. My boy Don from Tulsa, whose daughter went to Arkansas.
Oh, we got ties. Okay.
There's ties here.
All right.
And I'm going to try to get Don to come to the Arkansas game. I wish he would fly here to Atlanta, so we could ride down and go to the Arkansas game. I haven't talked to him about that yet. I hope he's listening. But, I got to go. I'm going Arkansas to cover here, Mike. And I'm sure you're going to go the other way. And I would love to hear why. Bring it.
Oh, I just like BYU. I like BYU in this slot. I think this is a slot that they are going to get easily overlooked on. I'm not impressed with Arkansas's team at all so far this year. They really look exactly like they left off last year, which is kind of just puttering along, not really doing too much, not really kind of just floating along the surface. So I think BYU, they're in the Big 12 now, baby. It's different. They're in Power 5. This is a game that if they want to be relevant and kind of take on that role like their brothers, in state, Utah, have done in the Pac-12 and kind of made themselves a presence and made themselves known, no better time than against the SEC. And again, that non-conference record for SEC against Power 5 this year is just not where we like to see it. So
you sound like Danny Cannell.
We're gonna stick. Hold on.
Let's see where things end up in the end.
I know where you live, Dave. Don't you insult me that way, all right?
Oh, you don't like that piece of crap either? Oh,
that's funny.
Snap! It's all good. So
no, I like BYU. I think they get it done. I think they're able to get it done.
All right. Well, I don't think
look for the little dusting on the outright there.
Have you ever been to Arkansas and heard the freaking third down call? Oh my God. I went and
No,
saw
dude,
Florida play
I've driven
Arkansas.
through Arkansas, and I wanted to get out of there as fast as possible. So I'm not really interested in going for a football game.
There are some interesting places.
Shout out
there.
Arkansas and all our viewers for Arkansas. We love you. You're
That's
the best.
right. Hey, my boy Don. I mean, like I said, his daughter.
Yeah, stop talking shit. Stop talking shit, Dave. Jeez,
I know.
think of Don. Come on, what are we doing?
She listens to the podcast too.
Oh man.
Ayla listens to the podcast, so we can't
video,
slam.
The night started off so well, and then here we are.
It did.
All right, quick recap. Recap's on the screen. We got 5 showdowns this week, so we are gonna have a outright winner for this one. No dodging it like last week, there, Dave.
That's right, because you saw my picks and you took them all, but that's all right. So now we have five differences.
That's exactly what I did.
I know you did, Mike. I'm just kidding. You know I am. Love you, man. So again, I've got to remind everybody, please subscribe. Again, we're going to Wednesday nights at 7:30 p.m. We've gotten my brother Peter. I'll call him out because him and Don were the two guys bitching about how bad the microphone was last year. But Peter,
they were right to. They were right to.
They were right, and you made it happen, Mike. You made it happen, Mike. My brother, sends me a text and says, Dave, I can hear you as well as I can hear Mike. So I'm like, yes, we satisfied him. We satisfied Don from Tulsa, Oklahoma. So, we got that taken care of. So we're very excited about it.
It only took 3 years. No big deal.
No, yeah, it only took 3 years. But you did it. You made it happen, and I much appreciate that, Mike. You're doing a good job there. And we got some new nuances next week, and just kind of to throw it out there, we might be changing our tune a little bit down the road. We're gonna throw it out there, and we're gonna mull around. We might change some things down the road, but we need everybody here. We need everybody listening. We need everybody subscribing. We need everybody liking and coming to visit Miami Mike and Gator Dave on Wednesday nights at 7:30 or on YouTube listening to the recap. So what else you got, Mikey?
That's it, Dave. That's all I got for you this week, buddy.
Hey, it's a great week. Look forward to it. Glad to be back, and I'm looking forward to going down to the swamp on Saturday and having a good time. See what happens with the Big Orange, because to be honest with you, Mike, nothing sucks like a Big Orange, baby. Nothing sucks like a Big Orange. So,
yep.
That's
good luck. I hope you don't come back and to like a 38-6 loss.
Yeah. Then
just for your own mental health.
Yes, true that. Yeah. So, hey, we appreciate everybody watching, subscribing, liking, all that kind of good stuff. Come back and see us. We're excited about 2023 and where things are going. And, I'll pass it over to Mike, but I got to say, go Gators.
Go Canes, baby. We got Bethune-Cookman tomorrow night.
Bethune-Cookman.
We gotta do it for Ed Reed.
That's right. I remember that story.
Yep.
All right.
But all right, Gator Dave. Good luck. Good luck in week 3. Have fun down there at the game. See you next week.
All right, man. See you, buddy.